is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be the backup? Let's make the case for the Niners keeping him as their backup.
Keeping Jimmy as the backup.
Yes.
All right. So I think that really keeping Jimmy as the backup makes no sense. You're talking about paying $25 million for someone who is not going to be content on the roster. And I think you have to look at what that does to the rest of the players. Jimmy is respected and well-liked within the 49ers organization. I think John Lynch above Kyle, certainly, but you can see it in John Lynch's eyes when he talks about Jimmy. He respects him as a man's man, someone who grew up playing linebacker and shifted to quarterback. You know, he's got the rugged handsomeness that you want. And so it's just, it's tough for me to imagine them doing him poorly for the rest of the year. I think they have already damaged the organization by what they've done to Jimmy right now. If you look at Twitter today, George Kittle retweeted an interesting post that explains Calvin and Hobbes. It's about the artist who drew Calvin and Hobbes. And all he did was retweet it. But what it talks about is, was Hobbes real or not? And it explains Bill Watterson talking about, well, you know, this is just me presenting Calvin looking at one thing and seeing one thing, everyone else looking at it and seeing something else, and that being the absolute reality for both people. And I think what George is saying there is, I look at Jimmy as our franchise quarterback, and I know a lot of the fans don't, but I do. And I think that was his response to the Sudfeld piece. You just can't keep him backing up, because to me, that's disrespectful to Jimmy, and he doesn't deserve it.
That's interesting. I would look at it another way, just to make the other argument. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a reason he hasn't requested a trade publicly. I think he's in a tough spot. I don't think, maybe he can say things privately, but I don't think he can just do what Deshaun Watson did. Maybe it's a poor example, but what Deshaun Watson was trying to do, because the Niners have been very patient with Jimmy Garoppolo up until this point. They've given him $90 million. He's given him 30 games. And he cashed those checks willingly. And I mean, there's nothing wrong. He signed a contract. They gave him the contract. But for him to all of a sudden be like, you haven't been right by me. Well, there's an argument there. I mean, maybe they have been right by him. I mean, if he could just stay healthy, there wouldn't be an issue. And the reason they're doing this is because they have to protect themselves, but they have set him up for generations.
I think that is most definitely a fair point. I would say
what you said about the locker room is very real. That to me is the issue. You don't want to have Team Jimmy and Team Mac or whoever, because then you're screwed.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle like 2011, 2019, to me, it was the magic chemistry in the locker room. And I don't know that for certain, but in relying on stories I get from sources like you, Matt Barrows, the 49ers crew, I get a good look at what that locker room sounds like, feels like, looks like. And it sure seemed like a pretty special place in those two off seasons. And I think that was reflected in achieving well above what they should have.
Yes, but that was the age of innocence. And then they went to the Super Bowl, and then they lost. And there's something about losing the Super Bowl. I've never seen a team. Well, Patriots have bounced back, but usually it really kills you to use it. I mean, it does. And it's like, well, why? Because everyone blames each other. Right. And I think internally with the Niners, everyone blames Jimmy. They may still like Jimmy, but I think everyone agrees that he blew it, even though it's not necessarily all his fault. Kyle Shanahan had a hand in it, but that's the narrative that's accepted. It's Jimmy's fault, and it's hard. It's hard to get past that, you know?
Yeah. It's at least potentially the most prevalent narrative out there.
Yes. Yeah. So could he be the backup? The way I look at it is, I think the most prudent way to do it is, could trade him draft day if you get a really good deal. I don't expect him to get a really good deal.
No.
What you could do instead is keep him until the rookie beats him out. The day that you've decided the rookie has beaten him out, trade Jimmy that day. Be like, look, we're not going to keep you as the backup, but we did want to have this competition. We wanted to give you a chance, and we wanted to give the rookie some competition.
What do you think you do to your trade compensation in that particular scenario? Have you shot yourself in your foot?
Yeah, it goes down. Down. Hey, if they can get that next year's 2 for Jimmy Garoppolo on draft day, do it.
Take it. Do it. I mean, I may have a low opinion of what they can get, but I would say take a third if you can get it at this point, quite honestly. I think that contract is an albatross.
Yeah, and when people say, well, Jimmy's better than Sam Darnold, they should really get he's older than Sam Darnold. He's more expensive than Sam Darnold. Is he a better trade asset than Sam Darnold? Probably not. Sam Darnold's 23.
I would say he is a better quarterback. He's not a better trade asset. I think that those two are simultaneously true.
Yes, and that's an interesting, whatever you want to call it, dichotomy. All right.
It absolutely is.
Humor me on this one. Oh, hold on. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, if you have to choose, because let me just throw out there that none of those scenarios are my or Grant's opinions, right? Those are just potential scenarios.
Okay, let's break it down.
Out. But if you had to choose one of the three that went down, which do you prefer? If you couldn't alter them, you just had to take it blanket as it was sold, which one sounds most appetizing? Which one you grabbing a fork and chowing down?
The most appetizing, I mean, what the Niners should be hoping for is for some team to come through on draft night with a great offer. Washington, New England, that's what you want. Oh, you want to trade us your second round pick this year? Oh, great. But I'm skeptical on that. I'm skeptical on which team is dying to have Jimmy Garoppolo. It seems like, the other day they said after Carolina brought in Sam Darnold, they said, well, we're going to let Teddy find his own trade. He can call around and he can negotiate whatever, pay decrease he wants to take. That's on him.
Yeah.
Because we tried. And Niners could do the same thing with Jimmy. Like Jimmy is free to look around and find his own offers if he can, because we've been looking and it's a lot harder than because part of the deal is where he goes, he's going to have to take a pay cut. No one wants Jimmy.
Yes.
No one wants to pay $27 million for Jimmy. So he needs to start having those conversations with the next team. They could do something like that.
That's right.
They could do something like that. So I guess I feel like most likely is they don't get the offer they want. They keep Jimmy Garoppolo because they're saying that he's the best. He's the best option for them. No, you just can't trade him yet. And they'll never get the offer they want for him. And they'll eventually have to sell him for even lower. But I think he'll get beat out rather quickly. If it's Mac Jones, I think he'll get beat out in training camp. If it's Justin Fields, he'll take the job by bye week. So.
That makes sense. To me, that speaks of day 3 draft capital in return for him, right? I think we're probably looking at a 5th, 6th, or 7th round at that point. Once he's beaten by the rookie, we've got no leverage. And I think that smart teams are waiting until the Niners have less and less leverage, knowing that that's inevitable.
Fair. Does Jimmy Does Jimmy even stay with the team if Zach drops to number 3? You don't think he's going to stay with the team one way or another?
I don't. Yeah. I think that it's a fait accompli. I think that it's time to move on. It was an interesting scenario in what they did, but now that they have, to me, that seems like the most obvious choice.
Well, one thing I've noticed, anytime someone on the Niners gets a contract, an extension, you always see like Fred Warner, George Kittle. Hey, congratulations, man. Great to have you back. Super great. Blah, 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 blah. Where's Jimmy? You often see the quarterback. Yeah. He's got a Twitter. He used to do stuff like that. Where's Jimmy on that one? And then also last year, he organized a whole offseason thing. I forget where it was. Where's Jimmy on that? Other teams are doing that. It almost feels like behind closed doors, they've already said, look, I'm out of here on draft night, right? Like, I'll just be quiet and you guys say what you want to say, and then you'll just take care of me on draft night, right? All right, I'll be quiet. All right, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm still on the 49ers. That's what it seems like.
And, after you hear Kyle say that Jimmy was a bit irritated, and rightfully so, I think that makes sense, right? I think that from Jimmy's perspective, simply by not putting anything negative out there, he's doing the right thing by the organization, and he's just staying quiet until something does happen and he's moved along. And I wish him the best. Like I said, I am a huge diehard 49er fan. If Jimmy is still here, I'm behind him 1,000%. I just don't think that's the most likely scenario.
Also, he's upholding his own professional standard. I mean, if you request a trade as the franchise quarterback captain of a team, people look at you differently. Like, you're a me guy. You're a diva.
Right.
And he's never been that guy. He's always been a team guy. He's always been the kind of guy who's okay throwing 7 passes in a game, and it's kind of his brand. Yeah. So he's staying on brand, and I guess he's got Don Yee as his agent. That's Tom Brady's dude. So they should be able to handle this behind closed doors and get him out of there.
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree. For me, the toughest thing is, the idea that some of the most compelling pieces of evidence in that discussion point to a different outcome. The Super Bowl or bust of me is start Jimmy. That is the most clear-cut way to win the most number of games. But the idea of maximizing trade value points the other direction. And the idea that top 3 picks often play the entire season, again, seems to indicate that if you're drafting in top 3, if you'd stayed at 12, I think Jimmy would stay. Now that you're at 3, I think it's
also, I think there's a strong, I get a strong sense just from knowing Kyle and covering him that he thinks Mac Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo right now. He watches Mac Jones. He's like, look, he's more decisive. He gets the ball out of his hands quicker right now than Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care that he's a rookie. He gives us a better chance to win right now than I bet you he would say that because Chris Sims.
If you were being honest.
Yeah, exactly.